Julie, I believe that brings us to 370.
Yes, this particular bill is to remove the requirement that a patient with stage 4 metastatic cancer go through what's called step therapy. In step therapy, we basically mandate that the patient go through potential cures in order of cost from least to most. When you have stage 4 metastatic cancer, which is quite frankly terrifying to me, when you have that and a doctor tells you that there's a treatment that would be the best for you, but then you find out that you're going to have to go to one that the doctor doesn't necessarily think would be the best for you in order of how expensive they are, you're talking about a matter of life or death. And like I said, it's terrifying. I mean, I can tell you that as a survivor, I have the 20 or so % chance that this is me on any day. And I mean, I don't choose to live my life thinking about that, but that's a thing. And if I had somebody telling me that I had to use the cheapest therapy first with stage 4 metastatic cancer, I mean, I think it's fair to say I'd probably lose it. I mean, it would not be good. So this is a very, very important legislation. I'd like to defer for a moment to my friend here, though, who would like to speak, Kelly Beckman, and to see if there's any questions from you guys.
Sure. Ms. Beckman, when you're ready, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. And
just give us your name, please.
My name is Kelly Beckman, and I would like to thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senators, for allowing me the honor to share my story with you today. When I was 35 years old, my GYN decided that I needed to do a baseline mammogram to have something in my chart for when I was 40 and would start doing annual mammograms. Much to my surprise, because I had no family history, no signs, no symptoms, I had breast cancer. It had already moved into my lymph nodes and both breasts at this point in time. At this time, I have 4 boys. My youngest had just turned 1. I went through the bilateral mastectomy, the chemo, the radiation. I did everything that I needed to do, and I was told that I was actually the perfect candidate for a healthy breast cancer patient to live a long, vibrant life. A couple of years later, and this sounds crazy, but in the shower, I could hear a little hollow spot. And yes, my husband makes fun of it, you know, because your brain and hollow. And so I would find myself in the shower doing like this. It's like, yeah, I hear it. So I went to my oncologist, and we did the blood work. She checked me out. Everything was fine. Maybe it was something with my sinuses. I went through those doctors. In March of 2011, I was 39 years old at the time. My little one was 4. I went into an after-hours clinic to come out with metastatic breast cancer. I have one big large tumor here. I call him Big Daddy. 1 here, 3 back here, 1 in my spine, 1 in my pelvic bone. No clue. No, I was in my best health, being my best self. And because of this nurse practitioner who said, hey, I have an x-ray machine, let's see what it is, that started my process. At the time, I was told that my prognosis was poor, that they would do whatever they could do.
Take your time. We're all for you.
I survived that year.
Wonderful.
And so began the PET scan world. And I didn't know it at the time, but for protocol for breast cancer patients, PET scans are called eye to thigh, okay? And so my doctor would have to fight because I have breast cancer, but it's metastasized to the bone and bone marrow. I have bones in other places. I have bone marrow in other places. And so we would have to go through this song and dance, and once he would get it approved, the technician that would give me the testing would say, okay, we're going to do eye to thigh. And I'm like, no, check my chart. I have 2 big tumors up here. We have to cover those. I have bone mets. And she would say, oh, I thought the doctor was wrong. Insurance protocol is eye to thigh. So this moves forward for me for years. And in 2017, I had my third recurrence. I had a tumor on my femur bone that had eaten all the way except for this much. My doctor was in awe that my femur hadn't broken, and I did emergency surgery to have a rod. Just this past March, I had a PET scan. My doctor told me that we were very fortunate that I had it in 4 months rather than 6 months, because at 6 months it would be a different story. These two new tumors were in my femur, and you think eye to thigh. If I didn't have to worry about making sure that that technician didn't just go with the protocol, because I am not just a breast cancer patient. I am a patient that has metastatic cancer to my bones and my bone marrow. I cannot tell if my cancer is active because my body doesn't present the symptoms until it's too late. Almost too late. Obviously, I survived. So, having said that, my doctor decided that I needed to do an oral chemo, and with this oral chemo, you have to take an estrogen blocker. So he sends it into the insurance to be approved. It comes back denied. They ask why it's denied, and they told his staff that with this oral chemo, you have to take drug A. So they explained she's already had drug A. It caused progression. It doesn't work on her. She needs drug B. So they send it back, and it's denied again for the same exact reason. Then they send my medical chart saying, I have proof that this drug does not work for her. This would be pointless for her to have this drug. On the fourth time he spoke to someone, a non-clinical person, sitting at a desk, reading script from a program that says, if you're going to have this oral chemo, if you want it approved, she has to have drug A. And I know that he probably had a few choice words, and it pushed him to be able to finally have a peer-to-peer 2 weeks later for the doctor to say, well, that makes sense. So at this point, it's not over. The next step is now we have to fill out new paperwork to go to the pharmacy. This is going to take some time. The nurse told me, she's like, Kelly, we'll fill out the paperwork today, but it's going to take time for them to process it. It's going to take time for them to send you the medicine because they are in a northern state. So it's going to take more time. Later that day, I got a call from a girl named Melissa from my doctor's office. She told me that she heard what was going on, and so she got on the computer and she researched and found a coupon for the free month of the oral chemo, and told me that if I gave her permission, she could use it and I could come the next day and get my medicine on site, which I did. I'll let you know that on my 19th day of my 21 regimen, I received my medicine from the insurance, from the pharmacy, finally. That put me 5.5 months when my doctor said 4 months, glad we did it at 4 months, and 6 months would have been a different story. Let me give you a peek into my world. As I told you, my youngest was 1 when I was diagnosed. When he was 8 years old, he had a school project, and they were writing books, and his teacher called me and told me that I needed to come in and have a conference with her. She showed me the other kids' books. It was about World Series baseball and Disney World and important moments. This is what she showed me from my 8-year-old. It's called Stay With Me. And in his book, he talked about how he needed his mother and how scared he was. He and my other 3 children are why I fight. I do everything I can to be here. I am 12 years, 8 years metastatic cancer. And I recognized at one moment there was a person sitting at a desk looking at a computer reading a protocol that was determining my future. And the thing is, I worked for over 20 years in the medical field. I work with insurance. I understand and respect protocol. And I agree with the breast cancer protocol. But I think once you become metastatic, you no longer have that time. I don't have the time. 4 months, 6 months, time is of the essence. I have to have. My doctor has kept me alive. He knows what I need. I know what I need, and I have to trust that if he says I need this drug, I can have that drug. My child, my youngest, is 12. My hope is that I get to see him drive a car, go on a first date. Because, you know, the statistics for a metastatic person is 24 to 36 months. I've had 4 recurrences. I've had 8 years. And time is of the essence, and I want to be able to make those milestones, and I don't want it to be because someone who didn't know me or my position made a choice about a drug, whether it was affordable or not. I'm more than that. And I appreciate each one of you listening to my story, and I know that this is not just for me. I'm very fortunate. I have a doctor who stood by my side. He has hundreds of patients, and he put all this time and effort into me and saving me. And I have to worry about the women who don't have a doctor that's going to go to bat for them. So please let this be their voice as well today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beckman. We appreciate you sharing your story with us. It's very compelling, and I know we'll all be praying for full recovery for you, and certainly pray for your family.
Thank you.
If I might.
Julie, I have a question or a comment from Senator Gaddy, if it's
Sure.
okay.
Thank you, Representative Stokes, for bringing this bill, and I want to thank you for your powerful testimony. It's moving and it's motivating, and it makes us know that we haven't done enough. I don't see any excuse for somebody at a computer 1,000 miles away telling an oncologist how to practice medicine or what the standard of care is. I don't think that person on the computer would have showed up if this had resulted in the doctor being accused of medical malpractice. Do you think that person on the computer would have showed up to say, no, this wasn't the doctor's fault? She had to wait 5 months. It was my fault. I don't think they would have. So I want to ask you this, Representative Stokes, and I appreciate the bill. I don't want anything I say to any way impede where this bill is or that you get it passed. But what is the penalty in your bill if that guy on the computer just says, I'm not going to do it? You know, does he get a slap on the wrist? Does he lose his ability to work at that company? I mean, is there a fine? Is there a fee? I mean, heck, if I hunt hogs at night in Caddo Parish, the government knows everything I'm doing. Surely the government should be involved in the decision-making process of a computer guy at a company that's telling somebody they can't have cancer treatment. Is there a penalty in this bill or in this title for this atrocious activity that almost cost this mom her life and that son or mom?
No. And I'm going to defer to the executive director of the Komen Foundation for a moment, but no is the first answer.
And I agree. And I just first want to say thank you to Senator Stokes for representing these bills so heartily, putting aside her own personal issues today to be here and standing up for so many women on these issues. But this particular bill, while we are here representing breast cancer, is for all metastatic patients. I want to clarify that, number one. And then number two, we have a concern about Section E that was not original to the bill. It speaks to affordability, and we feel like that it negates the intention of the bill, and that it brings us back to step therapy ultimately.
It's been difficult for me to be able to tell, because I'm, trying to work between the Komen Foundation and the insurance folks, just trying to make sure that we do the right thing And as far as that particular issue, it's been difficult for me to discern, because I'm not in insurance and I'm not in healthcare, so.
However,
that's-
we are, I'm sorry, however, we are requesting that Section E be removed.
I'll offer that.
Okay. Did you? Okay. All right, we've got dual offering here. Senator Gary Smith and Senator Gaddy both offer that amendment, and that is 2281. Did you have a chance to explain it? I mean, is there something there that? And Neil, were you? Okay, so we're good. Do we have any questions on the amendment? Senator Morris?
Yeah, I guess I do. I think it's on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I guess it's on the amendment. We got two bills moving through the process concerning pharmacy benefit managers. Mm-hmm. And I notice when we talk, mostly in here, we talk about the health coverage from the insurance company. I'm not seeing anything added into here that says, I'm not sure that this addresses the whole issue. If the insurance company is tied to a pharmacy benefit manager, and I see you kind of shaking your head.
Yeah, I didn't even think
and so
about that.
I
You're
just
right.
think, Julie, we need to look at this very carefully as this moves forward. We may need to add some language on the floor to make sure that it includes pharmacy benefit managers as this process, because sometimes under some contracts with some insurance companies, the PBM run the show.
Yeah, you're right.
And not the insurance company itself. And step therapy is a huge issue with PBMs.
Yeah.
So some of the legislation that we have moving through the process actually says once you've done step therapy once, if you move to another company, that step therapy follows you. So we may need to address that, to at least take a hard look at it and talk to some of the industry folks and others and see if that needs to be added into here. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So important, and I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I did not think of that, and you're right. I sit in health and welfare, and I've been hearing those PBM bills, and you're right.
And once again, I don't want to belabor the point, but this is a great bill.
Thank you.
Folks in my family have had cancer that's metastasized, and they played that waiting game that you played, and isn't it funny how your son picked up on it? We're just waiting and waiting and waiting when time your doctor says time is of the essence, and then you got to wait 5 or 6 months to get a yes, and then you find out there's a coupon sitting in the corner. I want to really look at, what is the penalty if this happens and someone loses their life or someone doesn't get that we have a lost chance of recovering. And I mean, it's a big deal when you're talking about cancer.
Yes.
So I'd like to, either if we can't do something today with some type of penalty clause in here, I'd like to see if we can't work on that between here and the floor, because this is a great bill, but it doesn't have any teeth if you can't, if somebody like Ms. Beckman can't call somebody and say, hey, y'all, if y'all do this, then this is going to happen to you. And I think that's what we're lacking now. I mean, I want to continue to work with you on that. If we can do that today in committee, I'd like to, but I don't want to do anything to affect the passage of your bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Senator Getty, and thank you to all of you senators for hearing us today. I just want to reiterate the importance of the removal of that Section E, because we call it step therapy, but it's also considered fail first. And with people who have a short amount of time left for them, they don't have sometimes that option to fail first. And so this would eliminate that requirement, and we thank you for your consideration on removing Section E.
All right. Okay. That's 2281. Okay. Amendment 2281, and that's removing E. Senator Gary Smith moves that we adopt that amendment. Is there any objection? Without objection, 2281 is adopted, and we'll work on the remainder between here and the floor. I think everyone's in much support. So we thank you, ladies, for coming here and giving us your testimony and entertainment. Ms. Beckman, we're so sorry for you, and we're really going to think about you and pray for you. In fact, Senator Morris moves House Bill 370 favorable with amendments. Is there any objection? Without objection?
May I close?
Oh, of course you
I'm
can.
sorry. But there's really just something that I won't take long.
Okay.
I just want to
I want to co-author.
really lift up this woman, Kelly Beckman.
John.
Not just her story that's so compelling, but when you sit down with her for another hour and you talk to her and you see the purpose that she's allowing God to work through her on this, and that she's not up here for anything except that, well, God's leaving me on this planet, and he's leaving me on this planet, and I'm going to use it wisely. And I really understand that, and I just honor and appreciate that so much. And I know what it is to live with purpose, and I feel this as some of my own purpose now. I've been, another thing that I would like to say, in that the first round of chemo that I had, the tumor doubled in size. At that point, I had I had about 17% chance that the next chemo would work, and 33% chance that nothing would work. So I know what it is to fail first, even though we didn't do it on purpose. I had to cancel a PET scan this morning to come here, and that was just a follow-up PET scan. But I want to thank you for the legislation that you guys passed last year that enabled people to get a follow-up PET scan. So thank you. That's really all I wanted to say, but I felt like I really needed to say it. I appreciate all of you very much and appreciate your passage.
Good. Thank you, Representative Stokes. We did have a motion on the floor to report 370 favorable as amended. Is there any objection? Without objection, 370 will be reported to the Senate floor. And thanks again, ladies, for being here, and Neil, we appreciate you coming. Also, Adam Haddix is here in support, not wishing to speak, and Kevin Hayes, although he does not want to speak, is here in support. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you again. Yes, Ms. Beckman.
I'm so sorry. I just realized that I didn't tell you what the hollow part was in my story. So I want to show you. This is Big Daddy here. The cancer had eaten through my skull, and that's what the hollow spot was.
Oh, my goodness.
It was only this big around whenever I started treatment, but it's the size of a silver dollar, and I have 2 other spots here. So that was the hollow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
understand. Thank you.
We want to make sure that no other big daddies show up. and
No, absolutely
do the
not.
best work we can to that end. Thank you.
And thank you.